Ethan Calder's boots skidded on loose rock as the canyon trembled beneath him. A jagged ridge had split the ground, and the rumble of falling stone echoed like thunder. He froze, heart pounding, and heard it, a high-pitched, shivering cry. It was tiny but urgent, a sound that clawed at his chest. Without thinking, he dropped his pack and scrambled toward the noise. There, pressed into the canyon wall, were 3 baby dragons no bigger than a human child. Their scales shimmered like melted glass, faint light glinting off their wings, and their eyes, wide and terrified, locked onto him. "Hey, I've got you." "Don't move," Ethan called, his voice steady even as the canyon shook. Dust swirled around him and rocks tumbled dangerously close. The tremors made the dragons flinch, their wings quivering violently. One of the rocks split the ground beside him, sending a shower of sparks and pebbles into the air. Without hesitation, Ethan lunged forward, scooping the smallest dragon into his arms. Its body was cold, trembling like a fragile heartbeat in his chest. The other 2 dragons followed his movements, inching closer despite the danger. A shadow passed above. Ethan looked up just in time to see a massive wing slicing the sky. The air shifted violently as if the wind itself feared it. The predator didn't descend, but the moment left a hollow weight in his stomach. He could not stay here. Not with them. He ran along the canyon, using narrow ledges and careful steps to keep all 3 dragons safe. One slip and it would be over. His mind raced, calculating each move, balancing speed against caution. They reached a small crevice sheltered by jagged rocks. Ethan lowered the dragons gently, letting them huddle together. The smallest nestled into his jacket, wings trembling but slowly relaxing. A soft hum escaped his lips, a melody he didn't even realize he knew. The dragons' quivering slowed, almost as if the sound soothed them. Ethan stared at them, his chest tightening. "Where is everyone? Why are you here alone?" He touched the translucent scales of the biggest one. Its wings emitted a faint, harmonic vibration that made the hairs on his arms stand on end. It was alive, intelligent, he could feel it sensing him, maybe even understanding him. Then the ground shook again, stronger this time. A deep crack appeared near the crevice, dust raining down. Ethan grabbed a rock for cover, pressing the dragons close to him. "Hold on. We'll get out," he whispered. The dragon's eyes glimmered with fear, but one of the smaller ones made a tiny chirping sound that felt like hope. Suddenly, a metallic hum filled the air, and a small, hovering drone appeared from above, its lights scanning rapidly. Ethan froze. He had no idea what it was, but it wasn't friendly. Its sensors locked onto the dragons and a low warning beep vibrated in the canyon. Thinking fast, he whispered, "Follow my lead," and backed toward a narrow passage he had noticed earlier. The drone zoomed closer, a light cutting through the dust. Ethan's mind raced. If it followed, the dragons would be trapped. He had to distract it. He threw a rock at a distant wall. The noise echoed and the drone pivoted. The dragons, reacting to the vibration of the canyon and Ethan's sudden movements, let out harmonic cries. Ethan froze, realizing something strange. The dragon's vibrations made the drone hesitate as if unsure what it sensed. He whispered again, softly, trying to match their tone, and the drone blinked, hovering uncertainly. Ethan felt a rush of relief. The creatures trusted him and somehow their strange resonance gave him a chance. He adjusted his grip, careful not to harm them, and edged toward the hidden path. The tremors continued, but his plan worked. They had a slim chance. As they disappeared into the narrow crevice, Ethan felt a surge of connection. These dragons were fragile, orphaned, and utterly alone. Yet they clung to life and now, somehow, to him. He didn't know why the canyon trembled or why the predators circled overhead, but he knew one thing. He would not let them die. Not now, not ever. A sudden shadow passed again, larger this time. Ethan's stomach sank. He looked up, his heart hammering, and froze. Something massive moved along the ridge above, too huge to be the predator from before. Its scales caught the light like a living storm. The baby dragon stirred in his arms, sensing the danger. Ethan tightened his grip. He whispered a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. "I will protect you. Whatever comes next, we face it together." And from the darkness of the canyon, a low, haunting rumble answered him. One that was not the ground, not the rocks, but something alive. Something watching. Something waiting. Ethan pressed his back against the cool rock of the crevice. The 3 baby dragons huddled tightly against him. The canyon's tremors had slowed, but the danger hadn't gone away. Above them, the massive shadow lingered, its presence like a storm frozen in the air. He could feel the vibrations in the rocks, almost like the canyon itself was warning him. The smallest dragon shivered in his arms, making a faint harmonic chirp. Ethan realized that every time it made a sound, the canyon seemed to hum in response. He tilted his head, curious, and tried humming back, imitating the note as best he could. The effect was immediate. The dragon's wings relaxed, the shivers slowing, and the harmonic resonance felt like a fragile shield around them. "Okay," he whispered, "we'll get through this together." A sharp, metallic buzz cut through the canyon's quiet. The drone from before had returned, this time accompanied by another one. They circled above, their lights sweeping like blades, scanning for heat signatures. Ethan's heart pounded. He didn't have weapons, just his wits and these fragile creatures. He glanced at the baby dragons. One of them, braver than the rest, chirped a series of notes, and Ethan instinctively repeated them. To his shock, the drones wavered mid-hover, their sensors flickering. Ethan's mind raced. The resonance wasn't just soothing, it was interfering with the drone's systems. That was their chance. He grabbed a jagged rock and tossed it to the side, creating a distraction. The drones pivoted, giving him a small window. He whispered again to the dragons, trying to guide their harmonic response. Their wings vibrated in perfect sync with his humming. The canyon responded, stones and dust floated slightly, as if the air itself bent to the song. Ethan bolted toward a narrow ledge above, balancing carefully. The baby dragons clung to him instinctively, their tiny claws gripping his jacket. The drones followed, lights glaring, and a sudden flash from one of them caused Ethan to flinch. He kept moving, calculating every step. One misstep and the canyon could swallow them all. Halfway along the ledge he paused. The canyon widened ahead, revealing a small pool of glowing water, strange and luminescent. The dragons froze, wings fluttering nervously. Ethan leaned closer, watching them react. The water reflected the dragons' glowing scales, amplifying their harmonic resonance. He realized something incredible. The dragon's song interacted with the environment itself. The canyon wasn't just a backdrop, it responded to them. Suddenly the ground trembled again, stronger this time. A rockslide cascaded from above, sending debris crashing toward them. Ethan reacted without thinking, scooping the dragons tighter and diving to a lower ledge. Stones rained around him, dust choking the air, but they were safe, for now. Breathing heavily he looked at the dragons. Their wings had stopped trembling completely, and one of them gave a small chirp that sounded almost like laughter. Ethan felt a flicker of hope. "We can do this," he said softly, brushing a rock dust from the smallest dragon's face. "We just have to be smart." The drone's hum returned, this time closer. Ethan scanned the canyon, looking for anything he could use. Then he saw it, a jagged outcrop that cast a deep shadow. If he could reach it, the drone sensors would have trouble detecting them. He gestured for the dragons to follow and edged toward the outcrop, carefully timing each step with the canyon's tremors. As they moved, the biggest dragon let out a sharp trill. Ethan paused. The sound caused a strange reaction. The drones wavered, hovering uncertainly. He realized the dragons could amplify their own power if he coordinated with them. He began to hum again, following the rhythm of their trills. The canyon seemed to vibrate in response, the drone's lights flickering. Ethan's heart raced with a dangerous idea. "If we move together, we can confuse them long enough to escape," he whispered. The dragons responded instantly, flapping tiny wings in perfect sync with his voice. Rocks shifted slightly, almost like the canyon itself was shielding them. They reached the shadowed outcrop. Ethan pressed himself and the dragons against the rock, hiding from the drone's sensors. The machines hovered near the canyon's edge, scanning, flashing lights cutting through the dust. Ethan held his breath. He could feel the dragon's small hearts beating rapidly against his chest, but their trust in him was clear. A tiny ripple ran through the pool nearby. One dragon lifted its head, staring at the water. Ethan watched, realizing they were drawn to it. When he softly hummed a note, the dragon's eyes glowed brighter, and the water reflected it back, creating a dazzling pattern. One drone blinked, faltered, and drifted backward, confused by the harmonic interference. Ethan's pulse leapt. He whispered to himself, almost laughing in relief, "We can fight this, we can survive." The canyon was alive, the dragons were alive, and somehow, together, they had turned a corner. But then a new sound cut through the canyon. A deep, resonant roar that wasn't from the drones, not from the canyon floor, but from high above. Ethan's stomach dropped. The shadow that had passed earlier moved again, closer this time, its immense shape blotting out the glowing sky. The baby dragons stiffened, wings spreading instinctively, and Ethan tightened his grip. He didn't know what waited above, but he knew they weren't just being hunted, they were being watched. Something massive and alive was circling, patient, waiting. Ethan whispered fiercely, more to himself than the dragons, "We're not giving up. Not now. Not ever." The rumble deepened, the air vibrated with power, and the canyon seemed to hold its breath. The path forward was uncertain, the danger greater than ever. But for the first time Ethan understood one thing. The dragon's song, his courage and quick thinking might be the only chance they had. And then, from the shadows above, a huge, glimmering claw sliced through the light, scraping the rock wall near them, closer than it should have been. Ethan's heart jumped. The predator was real, enormous, and it was about to test their limits. Ethan froze, the 3 baby dragons pressed tightly against his chest. The claw above them had scraped the canyon wall with a metallic screech that rattled his teeth. His mind raced. This wasn't a predator like before, it was something far larger, more intelligent. The harmonic vibrations from the dragon's wings vibrated against his arms, almost warning him. He scanned the canyon floor. The drone swarm had paused, hesitant in the face of the massive shadow above. Ethan realized something startling. The creature's resonance wasn't just confusing the drones, it affected the predator too. Its movement slowed, its massive eyes searching, puzzled. Ethan whispered to the dragons, "Now, work with me." The smallest one trilled a high note, the biggest added a low hum, and Ethan's voice rose to meet theirs. The vibrations combined into a strange, trembling rhythm. Dust swirled around them, the canyon itself seeming to pulse with the song. The predator froze entirely, massive wings tucked close, its body trembling in time with the harmonic wave. Ethan's pulse surged. He had never felt such a raw, living response from another creature. Something in the dragon's song connected with it. He didn't know why, but it was their only chance. He edged toward a rocky outcrop, keeping the dragons close. The air vibrated with their combined resonance, and suddenly the predator recoiled, letting out a sound that was neither roar nor growl, but a long, sorrowful cry. The canyon echoed it, strange and haunting. Ethan's stomach dropped. These creatures, dragons, the predator, were communicating in ways he barely understood. Then the drones beeped wildly, lights flickering. One of them collided with a rock, sparks flying, and another backed away as if unsure of its orders. Ethan had an idea. He whispered urgently, "We can use this. Follow me." He led the dragons along a narrow passage above, their resonance growing louder, more coordinated. Every note they made seemed to shake the canyon, bending light and sound in strange ways. Halfway along the passage Ethan paused. A hidden crevice revealed a cluster of glowing crystals. Their light interacted with the dragon's harmonic vibrations, amplifying them. When he hummed along, the resonance intensified, causing the canyon walls to shimmer like liquid metal. The predator froze again, clearly affected by this strange energy. Ethan felt a flicker of awe. "You're not just cute little things," he muttered, "you're powerful. And you're communicating." One dragon chirped back, almost as if in agreement, wings vibrating faster. Suddenly the ground shook violently. The predator had lunged, wings flaring, almost knocking Ethan and the dragons off the ledge. He clutched them tightly, dodging falling rocks, and hissed, "Not today." His mind raced for a solution. They couldn't outrun it, and the canyon was full of dangers. He needed leverage. Then he noticed it, a narrow channel above the predator, too small for it to reach. An idea sparked. If he could guide the dragon's resonance through that channel, it might create a disorienting wave strong enough to give them an escape. "Trust me," he whispered. "We're going to do something amazing." He began coordinating a song, simple but strong, with the dragon's natural harmonics. One chirped high, one hummed low, Ethan's voice layered in the middle. The canyon responded violently, stones rattled, dust whirled, and the air shimmered with vibrating energy. The predator froze, wings tucked, eyes wide, clearly overwhelmed. Ethan seized the moment. He led the dragons toward the narrow channel, their song intensifying. As they entered, the canyon seemed to focus the vibrations into a single beam, striking the predator like a wave. It roared, massive and terrifying, and stumbled backward. A huge boulder fell in its path, blocking its retreat. The predator beat its wings in frustration, then vanished from sight into the shadows above. Ethan sank to his knees, chest heaving. The dragons chirped softly, wings vibrating gently as if praising him. The resonance had worked. They were safe for now. But Ethan's mind churned. This was no ordinary canyon, and these were no ordinary dragons. Something much larger was at play, and he had just glimpsed it. He gently set the smallest dragon down. It looked up at him, eyes gleaming with intelligence, then fluttered toward the crystals. When it touched them, the light pulsed, forming strange patterns in the canyon walls. Ethan's eyes widened. The dragons weren't just connected to each other, they were connected to the environment itself. Somehow their song unlocked hidden energy, something ancient. Then he heard it, a low hum, deeper than any drone or dragon coming from far above. The canyon trembled and Ethan realized this wasn't over. Whatever hierarchy these dragons belonged to was awakening. The baby dragons chirped nervously, but his presence calmed them. Ethan took a deep breath. We're stronger than they think. Together we can face whatever comes next. He felt their small bodies vibrating against him, their trust unspoken but complete. For the first time he understood that survival wasn't enough. He had a chance to protect them and learn their secrets. A glimmering shape appeared on the distant ridge. Ethan squinted. It was massive, wings spanning hundreds of feet, and it moved with deliberate intelligence. The canyon seemed tiny beneath it. His heart raced. This wasn't just a predator, it was a parent, a guardian, something ancient, and it had been watching all along. The baby dragons trembled, sensing the presence. Ethan's hand tightened around one of them. Stay close, he whispered. Whatever that is, we'll face it together. The canyon fell into an eerie silence. Then from the shadows above, a soft, melodic call echoed, a sound so haunting and powerful that it made Ethan's skin prickle. The dragons answered instinctively, wings vibrating in perfect harmony. And as the melody grew, Ethan realized a terrifying truth. This was bigger than survival. The dragons weren't alone. Something ancient, something alive had just awoken, and it was aware of them. Ethan's heart hammered in his chest as the enormous shape above the canyon spread its wings. Light glinted off its scales, shimmering like molten metal. The shadow it cast swallowed the baby dragons, making them tremble even as they pressed against him. He could feel their fear, their tiny hearts beating wildly. This was no ordinary threat. This was a being that could crush them all in an instant. But Ethan refused to flinch. He took a deep breath. Stay with me, he whispered, tightening his grip on the dragons. We're going to show them who we are. The creature roared, a sound that shook the canyon walls, dislodging small rocks and sending dust into the air. Ethan covered his ears, but his mind was sharp, scanning for any advantage. He remembered the crystal cluster from the last passage, the way the dragon's harmonic resonance had amplified. That could be their key. He guided the dragons toward the glowing crystals, humming softly. The baby dragons responded instantly, their wings vibrating in time with his voice. As their combined resonance grew, the crystals pulsed brighter, sending beams of shimmering energy into the canyon. The massive dragon above recoiled, wings flaring, seemingly thrown off balance by the vibrations. Ethan realized something incredible. The dragon's song, guided by him, could influence even this giant. A sudden tremor shook the canyon. Rocks fell from above, and one small boulder rolled toward the edge of the crevice. Ethan barely had time to shove the smallest dragon out of the way. The boulder crashed, leaving a cloud of dust and debris. The baby dragons chirped frantically, but Ethan soothed them with his voice, weaving a melody that mirrored their natural harmonics. Their trembling slowed, their wings glimmered, and the canyon itself seemed to vibrate in response. The enormous dragon descended, its claws scraping the canyon walls, creating sparks. Ethan's mind raced. He couldn't fight it physically. He had only the dragons, his voice, and the canyon's strange energy. He drew a deep breath and began to hum louder, louder, matching the exact frequency of the dragon's harmonic song. The canyon pulsed with energy, dust swirling violently, rocks vibrating, and the air shimmering as if alive. The giant dragon roared again, this time not with aggression but confusion. Its eyes scanned Ethan and the baby dragons as if trying to understand what he was doing. Ethan's voice wavered but held steady. The baby dragons added their trills and hums, their wings flaring, amplifying the effect. The combined resonance surged, striking the enormous dragon like a wave of pure energy. It staggered backward, wings flailing, unsure, its massive tail thrashing against the canyon walls. Ethan felt sweat run down his face. He was risking everything, but he refused to let fear control him. We can do this. Trust me. His words carried not just to the dragons but into the canyon itself. The crystals pulsed brighter, amplifying their song even more. The canyon trembled in response, small rocks bouncing on the ground as if in applause. Then disaster struck. A jagged piece of rock collapsed above, dislodging a large boulder that tumbled straight toward the baby dragons. Ethan reacted instantly, lunging forward, shoving the smallest dragon out of the way. It landed safely against the canyon wall, but one of the bigger dragons stumbled, its wing catching on a sharp edge. Ethan caught it just in time, cradling it to his chest. The predator above let out a roar of frustration, flapping its wings violently, creating a gust that nearly knocked him off balance. Ethan refused to falter. He closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the dragon's tiny hearts, feeling their harmonic vibrations. He matched them perfectly with his voice, improvising, weaving an improvisational melody that resonated through every inch of the canyon. The crystals responded, beams of energy striking the enormous dragon in pulses. It staggered again, visibly affected, confused, and finally for the first time it paused. He saw an opening. The canyon narrowed ahead, a passage just large enough for him and the dragons. He whispered urgently, "Now. Follow me, all of you." The baby dragons chirped, wings flaring, matching his rhythm. Together they surged forward, their harmonic resonance creating a protective energy wave that kept the predator at bay. Rocks fell behind them, dust and debris swirling, but they kept moving, never slowing. As they reached the narrow exit, the enormous dragon let out a final, frustrated roar. Its wings beat against the canyon walls, but the harmonic energy forced it to retreat into the shadows above. Ethan and the baby dragons emerged into a hidden grove, safe for the moment. The air was still, the canyon echoing faintly with the vibrations of their combined song. Ethan sank to his knees, breathing heavily. The dragons huddled close, wings shimmering faintly, their tiny hearts beating against his chest. Relief surged through him, but it was tinged with awe. They had survived impossible odds together. His quick thinking, courage, and connection with the dragons had turned the tide. One baby dragon chirped and lifted its head. Its wings fluttered, sending a tiny pulse of harmonic energy into the grove. Ethan realized with a thrill he could hardly believe that they weren't just surviving. They were growing stronger with him, responding to his guidance and learning. But even as he caught his breath, a faint hum echoed through the trees, deeper than any drone, louder than any predator. The baby dragon stiffened, wings quivering. Ethan's pulse quickened. He had fought off one enormous threat, but this sound was different. Something ancient, something massive, was awakening deeper in the forest. Ethan looked down at the dragons, their trust in him unquestionable. He clenched his fists, determination hardening in his chest. "We're not done yet," he whispered. "Not by a long shot." A glimmer of light moved in the shadows, something huge brushing against the treetops. The canyon behind them was quiet, but the forest ahead promised a new, unknown challenge. Ethan's eyes narrowed. He had saved the dragons, but he had only survived the beginning. The baby dragons chirped, wings vibrating in response to his heartbeat. Ethan smiled grimly. "Then let's see what comes next," he said. And together they stepped forward, ready to face whatever impossible odds awaited. The hidden grove was quiet now, the echoes of battle fading into the distant canyon walls. Ethan sank to the ground, letting the baby dragons huddle against him. Their wings shimmered softly, tiny pulses of harmonic energy radiating warmth. For the first time since the danger began, he allowed himself a moment to breathe. "You're safe, for now," he whispered, brushing a dust-covered scale from the largest dragon's forehead. It blinked at him, eyes bright and intelligent as if understanding his words. Ethan realized that these creatures, fragile, orphaned, and alone, had trusted him completely. That trust wasn't something to squander. It was a gift. The grove itself seemed alive. The luminous crystals pulsed gently, reflecting the dragon's energy, and Ethan felt an odd connection to it. The canyon, the crystals, the dragons, all of it felt like part of a single living system. His heart thumped. The dragons weren't just creatures. They were part of a world far older and deeper than he could imagine. He looked down at the smallest dragon. It shivered lightly, then chirped, and Ethan noticed something incredible. Its voice carried a melody so delicate that it seemed to weave through the grove, touching the air and the ground. He instinctively hummed along, matching its pitch. Immediately the grove responded. Light rippled across leaves, tiny flowers opened, and the energy of the crystals danced in perfect harmony with the song. Ethan laughed softly, amazed. "You've been alone for too long," he said. "But no more. I'll help you." The dragons chirped again, wings vibrating in response, and one of them let out a trill so bright it seemed to form patterns of glowing energy around them. Ethan reached out, placing his hand against the largest crystal, feeling the resonance ripple through his body. A wave of understanding washed over him. The dragon's song wasn't just communication, it was a language, a bridge to life itself. Then, from the edge of the grove, a faint rustle caught his attention. Ethan tensed, expecting another predator or threat. But it was something else entirely, small, glowing shapes emerging from the shadows. Baby dragons, dozens of them, cautiously approached. Their scales shimmered like the ones he had rescued, and their eyes carried the same fear, the same loneliness. Ethan realized the truth: the 3 dragons he had saved were not alone. There were more, hidden, orphaned, forgotten by the world, waiting for someone to guide them. His chest swelled with determination. If he could help these 3, he could help them all. He rose to his feet, holding the smallest dragon against his chest. Its wings brushed his shoulder, vibrating softly. He whispered a melody, and the other dragons responded, their harmonics forming a bridge of sound that carried across the grove. The new arrivals joined in, timidly at first, then with growing confidence. Ethan smiled. They were alive, they were learning, and they were connected. A rustle from above drew his attention. The massive dragon that had stalked the canyon now hovered at the forest's edge, watching. Its wings were folded, but its gaze was intent, studying Ethan and the baby dragons. For a moment Ethan's chest tightened. Could he face such a creature again? Then, something unexpected happened. One of the baby dragons stepped forward, chirping boldly. Its wings flared, and the massive dragon tilted its head. Slowly, it lowered itself to the ground, wings folding as if acknowledging Ethan's role in protecting its young. Relief surged through him, but he didn't let his guard down. Respect and understanding, yes, but this creature was powerful, and the world beyond the grove was still full of mysteries. Ethan knelt, letting the baby dragons climb onto his arms and shoulders. "You have a family," he whispered. "And you're not alone anymore. We'll survive together." He began to hum a melody, soft at first, then louder, guided by the dragon's harmonics. The grove pulsed with life, glowing brighter with every note. Trees shimmered, flowers swayed, and even the air seemed to vibrate with energy. For the first time Ethan felt truly connected, not just to the dragons but to the world they belonged to. The baby dragons chirped in delight, wings fluttering, and one of them let out a trill that seemed to echo his own heartbeat. The larger dragon watched, then lifted its head, giving a low, resonant rumble that sounded almost like a song. Ethan realized that he had done more than save them. He had awakened something ancient, something that recognized courage, compassion, and determination. Ethan smiled, exhaustion and exhilaration mixing in his chest. They had survived impossible odds. The drones were gone, the predator had been temporarily defeated, and the baby dragons had found safety. But he knew the adventure wasn't over. There were more dragons out there, more mysteries waiting, and this canyon, and this world, was far larger than any of them realized. He glanced at the smallest dragon, chirping softly, and whispered, "We've only just begun. There's a whole world out there for you, for all of you." The baby dragons responded with a chorus of harmonious trills, wings vibrating, and Ethan felt a surge of hope. Together they could face anything. And somewhere deep in the forest, a faint ripple of energy moved through the shadows, larger than anything he had seen. Ethan's pulse quickened. Whatever it was, it had noticed them. He straightened, eyes bright, determination hardening. "Then we'll be ready. No one else will forget you. Not now, not ever." The dragons chirped in unison, wings flaring proudly, and Ethan took the first step toward the path that led out of the grove. The canyon behind them was quiet, but the forest ahead promised adventure, danger, and discovery beyond imagination. For the first time Ethan felt it, not just fear or hope, but the thrill of a mission bigger than himself. The dragons were safe, yes, but their story and his own had only just begun. Ethan has saved the baby dragons, connected with their unique powers and given them hope and family. He demonstrates courage, intelligence, and compassion. The drones, predators, and canyon hazards are temporarily neutralized. The dragon's harmonic abilities and connection to the environment are revealed. The faint ripple in the forest hints at a greater ancient force awakening, setting up a new adventure, new dangers, and new mysteries.